So who's on the call today? I am Alicia. I'm a customer success manager. We also have Laura, who is our manager of customer success and support, and Allison, our product manager.
Hello.
Woohoo! So what does Lead Sherpa do? Well, we empower real estate professionals to succeed by creating the most powerful real estate focused tech suite in the world. And we are here to show you how you can get the most out of Lead Sherpa. So that's what these webinars are really about, and how to hone in and focus on being successful with Lead Sherpa. Some of the things we're going to talk about today, new things going on with SMS. We have the 10 DLC registration, which I will get into further details on how to register, the registration timelines, guidelines, stuff like that. We'll talk about SMS templates and how to get the best out of your templates and kind of get in that mindset of creating templates. And then how SMS and Lead Sherpa are merging together, and how to get the best SMS experience from Lead Sherpa. We'll start with the 10 DLC. So there is now a registration process that is highly recommended by a lot of the carrier, or all of the carriers, to make sure that you are a legitimate company, to make sure that it really helps them filter out the people who are doing things legally and efficiently versus the people who are just in there sending spam messages. So how do you register for 10 DLC? If you have a Lead Sherpa number, you should start seeing prompts in app on information that is needed to get that registered for you. If you are Twilio integrated, you will have to register through Twilio's Trust Hub, and we can give you instructions on how to do so. If you guys need assistance with that, our support team is more than happy to help you out with that. If you have both numbers, Lead Sherpa and Twilio numbers, you would have to register in both locations. This is really going to help with those delivery rates. If your company is registered, your delivery rates will be higher, and then there won't be any additional fees from Twilio, and I'll get into that in a second.
And just really quickly on that, Alicia, for the Lead Sherpa phone numbers, so anybody who has lead phone numbers through us, not through Twilio, or if they have both, that in-app prompt will likely be in there early next week. So don't worry if you haven't seen it yet. It's not live yet from our side of things, but probably early next week, we'll start collecting your information, which Alicia will cover now what that is.
Yeah, so there's a lot of information that they need to know, including your EIN, the type of business, whether it's a sole proprietorship, or that sort, the address, phone number, stuff like that. We do have an SMS guide that lines these out specifically what you would need. And I think that Laura was going to put that in the chat for you guys. So the link to the guide there. And again, if you guys have any questions, our support team can walk you through what you guys need.
And on that also, sorry, Alicia, don't cut you off. Super important to provide accurate information. The more things that you can provide, so website is something that will be requested. It's optional. Highly, highly recommend putting as much information as possible. If you do have a company website, pop it in there. It will get you probably a better trust score and thus better delivery rates and things like that. They want to know, yes, this looks like a valid company to us. It's not somebody who just spun up a website today who's probably a spammer and just going to go spam everybody. If you have a legitimate website, you know, the more accurate information you can have, the phone number for your company, obviously your EIN as a registered company, it all just helps them validate that, yes, this is a real company and we trust, you know, the messaging that they're sending.
Perfect. Thanks, Allison. When do you need to register by? The deadline is next week. So if you guys need assistance, getting this done. We really strongly suggest trying to do it on your own, just so that our support team isn't bombarded with a whole bunch of requests, but we are more than happy to help as we can, guide you through the process. What happens if I don't register? You may see a decrease in delivery rates through your lead Sherpa numbers. And through Twilio, the delivery rates will probably decrease as well as additional charges through Twilio. So we won't charge additional, but Twilio will charge additional, but those delivery rates are going to suffer if you're not registered. Okay, so best SMS templates. So templates are really the lifeline of success with Lead Sherpa. They're not really something to kind of just throw out there and be done with it, a one and done kind of thing. This is really what's gonna determine your success rate through Lead Sherpa. It's really important to really get in the mindset before creating these templates. Something to think about is, you know, kind of put yourself in the carrier's position and what they would want to see as good templates. You know, people that aren't spamming, people that aren't messaging a lot quickly, a lot of the same person over and over again quickly. They're really trying to protect their customers, and as you're trying to run their business, they're trying to run theirs. But we got to really think of what they're looking for as a legitimate SMS template. Also think like your prospect. What are they going to want to see? If it's some, you know, very templated text message they get, you know, they're seeing a lot of spam, which is why all of these regulations are being put in place. And you don't want to sound spammy. You want to sound like you're really focusing on that one person. Like you know that who you're texting, and you know exactly what you're going to say to them. And that it's not just some random bulk text going out to a bunch of people. So we did some research on our highest performing accounts versus our lowest performing accounts. And some of the things that we've noticed is that our higher performing accounts have 10 plus templates per category. So that initial, the initial campaigns, the follow-up campaigns, they each have 10 or more templates. And the reason for this is Lead Sherpa it auto rotates through the different templates. So you're not using the same one over and over again, which will in turn be kind of flagged as spam. So the more templates, the better. 10 is what we're seeing, 10 plus is what we're seeing our highest performing accounts have. The template content, as I said, text with confidence. Don't ask, is this Jane, or do you own this house? You know, if you're texting someone that you know, you're not asking them if you know them. You know that you know them. So having those templates, just text with confidence that you are texting the right person. You do know what you're talking about, and you're not questioning if you have the right person. Another good thing that our higher performing accounts do is they give a brief description of what their company does. You know, this is Joe from XYZ company. We're an investment company looking to buy houses, or looking at investment opportunities, or, you know, whatever the case may be. Just let them know what your company does, and it kind of builds that trust with the people that you're texting, so that they know that you are a legitimate company doing legitimate things. Using out of the blue, random, you don't know me, those type of words don't really sit well with the prospects. They know that you're kind of fishing. So trying not to use those words really help.
So, and that's, the prospects don't respond that well, because they're like, oh, well, yeah, you did message me randomly. This is out of the blue. They're a little bit turned off from it. That's if they even get the message, because these are also the kind of words that carriers will filter out, because typically spammers are including this kind of language because they are messaging people out of the blue or randomly and they don't know them. So try not to use, you know, your whole template might not sound spammy, but there might be just some trigger words in there that spammers use that you want to stay away from to help with your delivery rates there.
For sure. Good point. Thank you, Allison.
Mm-hmm.
We get this question a lot. How often do I update my templates? There's really no right answer. A lot of it is how often the templates are being used. If you're sending to more prospects, then you would want to change them more often. The kind of the trend that we're seeing between the accounts is our higher performing accounts change them at least every 6 months, if not more. Sometimes monthly, sometimes weekly, but at least every 6 months, or less than. And I was gonna say something else and totally
I'll say something else if you don't
Yeah.
mind. So
I know what it was. Go ahead.
So this is great guidance. Again, we did pull this from research. As Alicia says, if you're messaging a ton of people, you're using those templates a lot more often. So you probably need to do it more often. If you're only sending 200 messages a day, you probably don't have to change them up so often. So the real indicator of when you should start changing your templates, or even it's a little bit too late, but is when your delivery rate starts to drop. If you do see your delivery rate dropping, go edit your templates, make some good changes to them. Don't just change a word or two. It's not enough. Go revamp them. We know it's annoying, but it's worth it. And there are some tools in the first tip here to use rephrasing tools. There's free tools online that you can, put a template in there and it will help you rephrase something in a new way, but you got to make some changes. It will help you get more leads and close more deals. So changing your templates even once a month can be annoying, but you should do it because it will help you with your delivery rates and reaching more people. So if you do see that delivery rate start to drop, that's one of the first things you really should go do is go change your templates. So every 6 months, definitely. More often, great. But if it's only been a month since you last changed your templates, but your delivery rates are dropping, go change them.
And that's exactly what I remembered that I was going to say is watch those delivery rates. So watch those delivery rates. If you start to see that dip, it's time to probably change those templates. Follow-ups. Something else that we've noticed is that the people who get responded to are the ones who are following up 2, 3, 4, 5 times. If you send that initial campaign out, chances are you're probably not going to get a lot of responses. So following up with those campaigns tremendously helps. And I think, Allison, didn't you say that you've seen it's typically 3 times that a company reaches out to a person before they'll get a response on average?
Yeah, that's what data has told us. So don't, just send one campaign and say, oh, I got no leads. You got to follow up. And there's different ways to follow up, which we can get into on another webinar. We've talked about it on previous webinars, but there's different ways to follow up. One is the create a follow-up campaign, remessage everybody who didn't reply. Every time you do that about once a month, you're going to get that response rate down really low to like a 5% response rate, single digits, once you're on your 4th follow-up campaign, and you might want to give it a break. But those are just the people who didn't reply. If they didn't reply once, they might not reply again, and so on. But you got to go back to those people who did reply and didn't absolutely say no. So, your warm leads or even cold leads, but they replied but didn't say absolutely no, you have to go back to them. So there's ways in PropStack, where you can go back to that, but we do have a feature coming soon, which I'll talk about in a little bit, that will help you kind of automate that process. But definitely go back, see who replied before, didn't tell me to go away, but they just weren't interested in that time. There are so many leads in there that you could be missing out
on. Frequency. How quick are you sending those messages? This is a big hindrance on delivery rates. If you are sending messages too quickly, those carriers will see that as kind of a spammy thing and will start blocking some. Something that we suggest to do, send out a batch and wait for those responses, respond to those initial responses, and then send out your next one. The lower performing accounts, they just click through real quick and then don't wait between batches. Waiting a minimum of 10 minutes or even 7 or 8 minutes between batches seems to have the best results for our customers. And then phone numbers. Release those numbers that aren't performing. They have been flagged. So get new numbers. You can release the numbers, get new ones. A lot of those lower performing accounts, just hold on to them and hope that their delivery rates will go back up. But those numbers are already flagged as potential spam. So if you see those numbers drop, go ahead and release those and get some new ones. Is there anything else that you wanted to add to this, Allison, before I moved on?
I don't think so. You covered that one.
Cool. Okay. We will have some time at the end to answer questions. I do see there's some chats coming in, but we will kind of open up the platform for Q&As at the end. So if we don't answer the chat, make sure to ask at the end as well. The last thing I'm going to talk about, and this one I'm going to kind of sort of segue over to Allison, the SMS and Lead Sherpa. We are working on a complete revamp to our SMS product. We're working on offering a fully managed account within Lead Sherpa again, and that way we won't need Twilio or the external platforms. So that way we can help you guys with those delivery rates a little bit more in depth. And with that being said, I'm going to hand that over to Allison because I know that's in her updates as well.
Well, just on that as well. So we're going toward this managed provider again, like we used to be. No more need for Twilio. So as Alicia says, we can help you, a little bit more. But at the same time, no more additional cost for Twilio messages. You'll go back to your regular flat fee pricing. And just no more headache with managing your own account outside of Lead Sherpa. We'll take care of it all for you. So that will be coming within this last quarter of the year. So we're very, very excited to get back to that format again. What else do we have here? Can you move the slide?
Yeah, absolutely.
Please.
Okay.
All right. So some little improvements. We've been working on some very, very big things lately. So not too many little improvements here, but a few things to mention. So one, use your property tags. We have just made it so you can now add property tags anywhere you're importing into the system. So before it was just on PropStack and on an import into SMS, but now on both direct mail and skip trace imports, you can also tag your data. If you're not tagging your data, you should be doing it. It's what makes PropStack work. If you're not using PropStack, you should be. And one day, if you decide you should be list stacking, which you probably will, you'll regret not tagging your data. So even if you're not ready to use PropStack right now for whatever reason, even though it's free and quite simple once you get the hang of it, even if you're just not using PropStack right now, tag your data, because one day you'll want to come back and see all this data tagged so you can see your most motivated sellers. So if you have a vacant list, all you do is click "this is vacant" and import that list, and it will tag all of those properties in there as vacant and stay in there so you can stack your data today or whenever you're ready. So do be tagging your lists. Again, it is now on number 1 and 2 here, is on all places where you're importing data into the system. More clarity when pushing from PropStack to a campaign. So when you're going over your SMS limit, so PropStack is completely unlimited, but when you push into an SMS campaign, that's where your SMS uploads come into play. It wasn't super clear when you were going over your upload limit before and potentially get charged, but now we have like a double confirmation, really confirming, hey, you may be charged for this, and this is the amount that you may be charged. Depends on how many duplicates you have in there, but a lot more clarity so you can ensure that you're accepting a charge that you really want to do. Opening external links in a new tab, pretty simple little one here, but it was requested by lots of you. So when you click on Zillow, when you click on the public link, when you click on anything that links out to something else, instead of reloading on the page you're on, it will just automatically open in a new tab without you having to right click and selecting that option. And we did do a full update to the design of the software. So it was it probably just looks like little tweaks to you. We're now what we call responsive. So whatever screen size you're on, things should look how we want them to look. So it's a lot more digestible for you for a user experience. So again, it wasn't a complete redesign of the software from your point of view, but for us, it really was. Things will be laid out a lot more properly when you have different screen sizes. And this actually allows us to do desktop on a tablet in the future, which is a feature request we've had as well. So it's not live just yet, but it is on our roadmap so that you can use tablets with the desktop version instead of mobile. All right, and then upcoming plans. What are we planning to do? So we've talked about both of these things pretty much, but a new way to manage your warm and cold leads. So again, follow-up is super, super important. This is not just going to be regular follow-up campaigns. This is going to allow you to stay on top of people who say, not interested now, contact me again a little bit later. Completely customized to how you want to do it. Not giving too many details right now, but it should be live toward the end of next month. It'll be just a really awesome system that will help you generate more leads and really automate lots of that follow-up process for you. Still not automatically sending any sort of messages. We're still going to be completely compliant, but it will just help you recognize who you should contact today without really thinking or filtering to who you should be following up with. I know it's a little bit ambiguous. Some of you might be following what I'm saying and catching on to what the feature is that's coming. It's going to be very exciting. Again, live probably at the end of next month or so. And then the optimization and rework of SMS campaigns. We are rebuilding SMS from the ground up. So not necessarily from the front end point of view, though. If you do have any, design or user experience kind of feedback for us, this is the time where we can tackle a lot of those things as well, because we are rebuilding it. For the most part, it will look the same unless we do get some of these feature requests in here. But on the back end side of things, we are completely reworking everything, going toward that managed provider, as we were mentioning before. So you no longer have to deal with Twilio or pay for Twilio. And that will come in the last quarter of the year here as well.
And again, if you guys have any questions at all, our support team is amazing. The average response time is 10 minutes. So if you guys have questions, don't sit there and struggle. Reach out to us, and our support team will absolutely guide you in the right direction, whether they answer a call or a ticket for you, or push you to CSM, or get you to the right department to get your questions answered. Please don't struggle. Reach out. That's why we're here. We're here to help you guys. With that being said, I'm going to open it up to the Q&A. So if you guys want to use that little Q&A icon down it should be at the bottom of your screen there. Feel free to ask questions, and I think Laura's going to help us with that as well.
Yeah, we also have some that come through the chat. Mm-hmm. And so we'll just kind of go down the chat questions real quick. So the first question, in regards to 10DLC and registration, which phone number should we use to register? Several numbers for tracking purposes. So with the 10DLC registration, they're asking for a point of contact for the 10DLC registration or for your company. So for that particular part, you're probably going to want to do your own phone number, because that's just essentially a point of contact information for the 10DLC registration. The next question, if we are registering ourselves, is there a list of carriers you can provide? I may need a little more clarity on this question. I don't know if Allison, if you're...
Yeah, so what I think that I understand you're saying, Merv, is because, in Twilio, you've got to register yourself. Maybe it was a little bit of a misunderstanding. In Twilio, if you have a Twilio account, you're in there and registering for 10DLC through Twilio. So you don't have to then go do it through, another carrier. Your provider is Twilio, and that's who you're registering through. And then if you're doing lead Sherpa phone numbers, we will prompt you for that information. So you don't have to then connect that to any sort of other carriers. You're registering within Twilio for your Twilio numbers, and you're registering within lead Sherpa for your lead Sherpa phone numbers. That's all you have to do. If that didn't answer, oh, it did, I think. You said, great, thanks. So I think that addressed the question.
Perfect. And then let's see here. Do we still need to have company name and opt-out messaging?
Yes. Yeah, in our templates. So sorry, we didn't put that in the guidelines because they're just things that are the new normal. So it's not best practice. It's just what you have to do. Address who you are. So that's company name. Carriers want that. They want to see this template is coming from this company. And so we're going to let it go through. If it doesn't, and there's a lot of messages going through and you're not saying company name, they're going to start flagging it. It's a required field in our templates anyway, so you can't really get around it, and you shouldn't try to get around it by putting something else, you know, in your company name field. You should be putting a company name so that carriers can at least see this message is coming from this company. Opt-out messaging is going to be automatically appended as well. That's, again, another carrier thing that they want to see. They like that. That's what they're requesting all the time. If it doesn't have opt-out messaging, you're just going to get yourself flagged. So if you're using another system that you're not required to do these things, be very careful, because you're probably going to start getting filtered out if you're sending lots of messages.
All righty. Does the number of unique messages matter? I currently have 10. I don't know if you want to hop back to that slide, Alicia, but so I believe you're probably referring to templates here when you say unique messages. So yes, again, it's going to depend on how many text messages you're actually sending. But you will want at least 10 that you are rotating in any given category. Just to really kind of spread out, so it's not the exact same messaging going out every time. More is better. One of the tools we do recommend, there are some cool tools out there. Allison had mentioned this, that will allow you just kind of go copy paste in a message, and then you can hit the word rephrase, and then it will kind of give you a new way to say that. And so, because sometimes it's hard to come up with, 10 different ways to say the same thing. But some of those tools can be of assistance there as well.
Yeah, and the important thing here is, and I know both Alicia and Laura have said it, but I really want to make sure that if it's one thing you're remembering, or one of the main things, I guess, that you're remembering from this, is that it is per category. So 10 messages overall, Jeff, if you have 2 different categories and there's 5 in each, it's not following best practices. You should have 10 per category, because when you're selecting a category in a campaign, you're just cycling through the messages in that category. And so if you only have 5 or 2 or even just 1 message in that category, you're not getting enough variation. You should have at least 10 per category so that you're not using the same message so often through that rotation of your messaging.
And then also we have a question: what is the delivery rate % that would prompt you to change your phone numbers?
Yeah, I mean, we used to, in the world of SMS, not just Lead Sherpa, but just overall, really be able to see consistent like 90s across the board all the time. It's tougher to do that now. Just carriers in general are more strict. But once you start dropping like low 70s, I would be watching it a little bit, maybe making some tweaks. Into the 60s, definitely stop sending messages, go make some changes to your templates. Ideally, your delivery rates are in the 80s or even in the 90s. We still see lots of people in the 90s who are following lots of good best practices. But, once you're dropping into the 70s, definitely into the 60s, we got to make some changes to our templates. Oh, or to the numbers. Sorry, I just realized your question said to change the numbers. What I would do here, instead of just straight up changing the numbers, when we get to those same, rates that I was just saying, change the templates first, change your approach, as Alicia was saying, with like your frequency as well. So go make changes to your templates, maybe change how frequently you're sending messages, see if you can get that delivery rate back up there, because if you can, your numbers are fine. If your delivery rate goes back up, cool, let's keep on using these numbers. It's just when you've, exhausted all of your options of changing your templates or following best practices and you still can't get it to come up and it's even just continuing to drop, that's maybe when we should either give the numbers a break and try them again later, or just switch them up altogether.
All right, we have a question about Shake and Stir. If we recommend registering for that, if the customer is going to be calling back from within Sherpa. I don't know that off the top of my head. I'm not sure if Allison, you've heard.
Yeah,
much.
no, we've talked to our providers about that. It's not required for us. It is required for like dialers, I believe. But for, you know, one-off conversations, or if they're calling you back, of course. But if you're, you know, sending a text message and you just call them out, we don't have like these dialer capabilities, these power dialer capabilities. So it's not really required from our system at this time anyway.
Next question. Would we have to cancel our Twilio numbers after you revamp Sherpa by the end of the year?
It'll be up to you. We will still enable the Twilio capabilities. So if you like Twilio, there are some people out there who like having their own Twilio account and managing everything themselves. You can keep on doing that. We're going to change the default so that people can sign up with like the managed service. But if you want to keep using Twilio numbers, you totally will be able to. So you won't have to cancel them. But I'm sure there's some people out there who will be happy to.
And alrighty, so we got, where can I get some help on effectively setting up follow-up campaigns when I have new data being added? So we do, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I was just going to say, just based on how you phrase your question there, Michael, I wouldn't be adding new data to the same campaigns because that does make creating follow-up campaigns a little bit more difficult. So, you know, I would add a file, create a campaign, follow up from there. And then when I have a new file with new data, add it to a new campaign, because if you're creating a campaign, doing a follow-up, then going back and adding data to that same campaign, you can still do follow-ups. It's just harder for you to track. And so it's a lot easier to separate out your data by campaigns so that you know, okay, this campaign I've done this follow-up or 2 follow-ups or 3 follow-ups. This is my new campaign, and separate them out that way. I'm not sure if that's kind of what you're asking, but just by the way your question was phrased, it sounded like you might be doing that.
All right. And if you're using CallRail and smartphone for phone numbers, do you have to register those numbers?
Not through Lead Sherpa or to use them with Lead Sherpa. CallRail or smartphone should be prompting you to register them for 10DLC, I would think. I'm actually not 100% sure what they're doing, so I'd suggest contacting their support to see if they need 10DLC registration as well.
All right, and looks like the final question we have, do you guys have any plans for us to not pay extra with Twilio to send messages for Verizon numbers? So this definitely plays into the larger conversation of us hopefully moving away from Twilio and moving to our own managed solution. The reason that you are incurring those extra fees is because you have your own account with with Twilio, and we just kind of tap into that existing account. So we have actually zero influence over what you are paying for the Twilio numbers, and why we essentially give discounts for people that are integrated with Twilio, just so we can help relieve some of the burden from our end as well. So with us planning to move to this new managed provider, the intention would be, yes, to also be able to send to Verizon. That's one of our major things we're looking at, is we need to be able to do that again, to allow us to actually move away from Twilio altogether. And one more come in. And then how many numbers are we allowed to have in Sherpa after registering 10DLC?
So once you're registered for 10DLC, I think you can have, there's no max, and it's actually one of the reasons our users need to register, because if you only have 5 or less, 5 or fewer numbers, I guess, technically you may not have to register for 10DLC. However, it's highly, highly recommended. And so for all of our users, because there is a minimal amount of numbers you have to use with Lead Sherpa. You've got to register for 10 DLC, and you're sending, enough messages that it warrants 10 DLC registration anyway. So once you're 10 DLC registered, I believe you can have as many phone numbers as you would like. So I think that's it, Alicia.
I think that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you everybody for joining us. And again, if you guys need anything, please feel free to reach out. We are all here to help. So with that being said, we'll give you some time back in your day.
Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great afternoon.